even though the storm is not going to get named Winter Storm Quinlan, I still think it's going to be probably one of the most significant storms of this month. And I'll tell you why. This is a storm that is getting very underestimated, and the potential for a half a foot of snow in some major areas of the Northeast, including New York City, is not to be ruled out. So today we are talking about the nor'easter that will be moving through the Northeast throughout the day on Wednesday, maybe late Tuesday in some spots to the south, but mostly on Wednesday. Now, at the moment, we have winter weather advisories posted in West Virginia, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut. I fully expect those winter weather advisories to encompass the entire region here. Now, the reason why we probably won't see winter storm warnings posted is probably because the National Weather Service is being very bearish on this storm. Me, on the other hand, I am very bullish on this storm. I've been watching this start to unfold, and I think we're in for a doozy. So, here's the setup. Right now, we have some storminess in the south. Eventually, this will start to get a little bit more organized. A high pressure builds up in the Northeast that was happening throughout the day on Tuesday. Now, this high pressure is very important because it keeps the cold air that's currently in the Northeast in place for what comes next. We start to see a lot more organization in this storminess, and a low pressure forms in the Gulf of Mexico. We see this low pressure move up north, and we start to see that moisture that's gotten pulled up from the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic Ocean start to move into that cold air. The high pressure is still there and still bringing in that cold. And then we see snow start to unfold, mostly in Pennsylvania at first, also in parts of Ohio, but then eventually we start to see the snow filter into New York, including New York City, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and then eventually into Massachusetts. You can see here that just from when I made my video, what was that, like 18 hours ago, this storm has gotten much more significant. Even if the snow totals that I talk about today don't happen, we are definitely going to see a general 3 to 6 inches across the region, just because of the fact that this low pressure not only is strengthening, it's moving off the coast and stalling. There's just a little bit of stall in there, and that is what is going to be key here as all of this moisture moves through, especially the New York to Boston area. Let's just call it southern New England, but it does include parts of New York as well. So that is going to be the key area here. As that storm moves off, it kind of just lingers a little bit, adding on some extra snowfall, and that is where I think we're going to see most of our significant impacts. Now, let's zoom in a little bit and go over timing in the Northeast. So, starting off here, let's go to right here. This is midnight Eastern time. You can see some rain starting to filter into Virginia, West Virginia, and Kentucky. And then this is 5 a.m. So by 5 a.m. we have some snow in Ohio and then the valleys and hills of central Pennsylvania, parts of Maryland and Virginia, but not many, mostly in Pennsylvania. Now, 7 a.m. This storm moves a lot from 5 to 7 a.m. We start to see snow moving into areas around New York City, as well as areas of northwest New Jersey, parts of Connecticut, southern New York, and then continuing that snow filtering into almost all of Pennsylvania and parts of Ohio. The two main areas and the two most populated areas of Pennsylvania will be left out. That is the southwest corner and the southeast corner. Now, this is 7 a.m. By 8 a.m., we see New York City switch over. Philadelphia is right on the brink of some snow, but still left out. And that is going to be a major indicator here that Philadelphia is just a bit too warm. And that is why that high pressure is so important, because if it wasn't there, New York City would be in the exact same situation. So this is 8 a.m. By 9 a.m., we continue to see that heavy snowfall filtering into southern New England, as well as light to moderate snow across Ohio, Pennsylvania, parts of New York, and New Jersey. Continuing on, this is 10 o'clock. We start to see some, more cold air move in just a little bit more, and we also start to see some heavier bands of precipitation starting to move into areas such as Long Island, parts of New Jersey, New York City. By 10 o'clock in the morning, you can start to see those pinks. That is 40 decibels compared to Z. And that is, let's call it, over an inch an hour. So, I mean, technically dark blue is about an inch an hour, but we're going to call pink about an inch an hour. Now, that area of heavy, intense snowfall continues through parts of southern New England as well. Even though we're not in those pinks, we're in those very dark blues. And the one reason why parts of New York and Long Island won't see as much snow as parts of Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts is because this is right around noon. At 1 o'clock, some areas will be switching over to sleet or rain. That includes New York City. Whereas areas of southern New England here will stay as snow as this low pressure moves off, and we continue to see some areas such as Long Island and New York City stay as sleet for the pretty much the rest of the storm, while southern New England stays as snow. By, let's just call it right here, this is right around 8 p.m. Thursday. New York City is done with some snow, and then Boston is done here by 11 p.m. on Wednesday. Both those are Wednesday, not Thursday. So, snowfall totals. Boom. There are our snowfall totals. So, widespread 3 to 6 inches, including now New York is right on the edge. Let me zoom in here. New York's right here on the 2 to 3 inch range. That's why we won't see this storm get named. They're just a few miles out of it. Boston, also in that 2 to 3 inch range. Philadelphia, nothing. Baltimore, right around here, nothing. DC, nothing. This is an inland storm. So you'll see areas such as northwest New Jersey potentially get into that 3 to 6, maybe even into that, high ends, like 6, 7 inches. Parts of, I think that the bullseye here is going to be New England. Southern New England, in fact, and right in here. You can see that Connecticut, Rhode Island, parts of Massachusetts in that bullseye, parts of southern New York as well, maybe potentially even northeast Pennsylvania, depending on where that beginning of the storm lines up, how strong the low pressure is, all of those factors. But I think that kind of the target for the storm is going to be southern New England, just based on timing and that switchover. All of these areas, including New York City, could be in this 6 inch range if they don't switch over. So, finally, what does this do for the future? Because we have been starting to see after this storm system, also, by the way, the European model is showing a broad area of 6 inches of snow. I'll show it in a second. But after this system, we are also going to be tracking another system that's going to move into the Northeast as well this weekend. If this storm is strong enough, we could see areas of New England get even more snow. Even areas such as Philadelphia, New York, Boston, all could see snow. And depending on how strong this storm is and how much cold air is in the region, we could see potentially a lot of snow. There is the potential with this next system for 6 to 12 inches of snow. And I'm not just talking 6 to 12 as like 6 or 7 inches. I'm talking like 8, 9 inches of snow from this system, depending on where it sets up. Now, the European model is showing potential for 6 inches of snow from this event. Now, this is 10 to 1 snow to liquid ratio. The NAM is showing less than that 10 to 1 snow to liquid ratio, but it is showing that 10 to 1 snow to liquid ratio, bringing 6 to 12 inches of snow from Pennsylvania through into Connecticut. So that is just your European model reference there. Now, in terms of my predictions, here's my predictions, which is a little bit more subdued from the Euro, but a little bit more bullish than the NAM, just because I'm not going to be drawing in the finer details. So this is basically just what the NAM is showing. 0 to 3 inches in parts of Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, even northeast Massachusetts, and Maine. 3 to 6 inches, including parts of central Pennsylvania, parts of New Jersey, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, parts of most of Massachusetts, northeast Connecticut, and the northern, all but the southwest portion of Rhode Island, as well as parts of northern Long Island, and I have New York City right on the edge there. That's 6 to 12 inches, which again is going to be on the lower end of that spectrum, maybe 6 to 8 inches, is going to be Connecticut, southwest Rhode Island, parts of, let's call that southern upstate New York, and parts of northeast New Jersey are going to be in that range where you don't switch over to sleet, but you also have that heavy snowfall as well. One thing to note of this storm, that 6 to 12 inches is going to be that heavy, wet snow. So shoveling will be rough, so if you can, do it in shifts. If you can, snow blow it, but if not, just watch out for your back, take breaks. It could be very, very slushy in spots, especially if you have some of these areas that switch over to sleet. Sleet is a pain to shovel, so please be careful. But that is all that I have for this storm system. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like, subscribing, and hitting the bell. But that's all I have for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.